well. And I use activity schedules, written schedules a lot for children to self-monitor. I think that those really help as well.
I think executive functioning is a really big area. I think even as behavior analysts, we get overwhelmed a little bit because it kind of encompasses so many areas. So like trying to understand where to start or looking at those prerequisite skills is probably like a really good starting point, because it is hard. I mean, even for myself, trying to tackle executive functioning as a whole, like it gets overwhelming. So as a parent, you know, I that's probably extremely overwhelming. So I think just looking at, you know, areas throughout the day that maybe are most impacted, you know, is a really good place to start of, hey, where can I start to help with executive functioning? Again, looking at the areas that are most impacted throughout the day or things that your child struggles with the most is a really good starting point.
Yeah, and so there were 2 questions that came in. Are there therapy services that you can ask for in an IEP to help develop your child's skills? And absolutely, I think executive functioning skills are extremely important in the classroom, and they're something that our children struggle with all the time that you can ask for help with. And sometimes they fall into a learning support realm, and sometimes they fall into an occupational therapy realm of how to organize and plan, whether it's writing down where things go in the desk or where to put your pencil when you're done with it, things that simple. Another question is, my son has trouble explaining he's hungry or thirsty or hot or cold, especially during certain situations. This also happens with the bathroom and not asking to go when he needs to. How should I help? How should I get help for him with these in the school setting?
So when you're trying to teach a child to like basically tact or label an internal feeling, if you know outwardly from like knowing your child, okay, I know he's hungry right now because he's displaying this and this, prompting him to tact, I'm hungry, and then making them repeat, or whatever way their communication is, labeling that in that moment, and then continuing to pair that every time you know he's hungry, I'm hungry, or every time I'm hot, he might have a certain behavior, you need to prompt him to tact, I'm hot, and then give him access to a way to get cooler, or I'm hungry, give him access for food. So it's really about kind of making them label it themselves every time they're in that state, and then eventually a lot of times you see them initiate that and label that themselves.
Yeah, that goes back to that working memory, you know, and being able to recall that information every time. Thank you for those specific questions. I know as we're going through this, there's, you know, people always have very specific questions. So that's, and that helps. You're back.
I'm back. Something but
That's okay. We're just going through a few questions.
Yeah, I see that. I have you connected on 2 screens now, so we'll
we just got a question. How can we help educators understand these motivators of function first instead of looking at it as bad behavior? That's a great question. We do that daily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you find an answer, we can all collaborate.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I think it's okay that we kind of face that problem, and that's okay, right? Because that's kind of normal instinct is to think that way, and so I just think we have to kind of educate and explain, like, and what I see is when we get defensive quickly during those times, instead of just explaining like, hey, I know, you know, Johnny's having a really hard time during math, but you know what I think's happening? I think he's getting so overwhelmed and he can't follow that much communication, you know, that many steps. Do you think we could try this? So sometimes just like presenting it, the way you present it, I think makes the most impact, at least in the meetings I sit in. I think
I absolutely have found success with just explaining it. You know, I think that there are a lot of people who don't know what it is and don't know that there are these deficits. And even if these deficits, you know, are related to autism, I think that they don't understand the intricacy of everything that it really involves in using that part of your brain and managing and organizing it all. So just providing information really does seem to help a lot.
Ladies, I have a quick question for you. All of this that we're teaching, and Danielle, you said it takes years, you know, to get these down. The frustration that a parent feels cannot be comparable to the frustration that the child feels. So how do we, you know, work on that, those patients, you know, that's a skill in itself for the adults, right?
Patience for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So frustrating. And so how, I mean, we got to learn how to juggle that on our own.
100%.
That's why like my best piece of advice, and I said it during the other trainings, is prioritize what your goals are and what impedes the most. You cannot tackle 26 goals at once because you're going to fail. So you really have to prioritize. I'm just starting with these two areas right now that are so challenging, whether it is challenging behavior or executive functioning or, you know, just self-care routines. Like I see it. And when you want to intervene on so many things, because that's our nature, we want to start intervening on everything. And we have these trainings now, but that's where you get defeated and kind of get burned out quick. But sometimes if you could take one thing and, whoa, they're doing so much better in that, let's start to now work on this skill.
I was just going to say, just always remember the small successes too. Like, look at the small successes. I think, you know, you're the parent, you're with the child every day, but as a behavior analyst, I see a child weekly, usually, you know, once or twice a week. And I am so amazed from sometimes when I see a child from last Tuesday to the following Wednesday, and I'm just like gleaming with joy because I see those small successes. I'm like, he was not doing this last week. And, you know, I know when you're the parent or when you're the behavior tech that's with the child every day, you don't see those small things, but they're there. They are there. If you're working on it and you're teaching, I promise you, you're getting to your ultimate goal. You're getting to your end goal as long as you're consistent and you're committed to it. Because like I said, I'm sure Jenn and Joanna see it too. I see it almost every session that my child, at least the child that I'm working with, at least learned one thing since the last time I saw them. And that's a fact. So.
And speaking of that, Danielle, there's research that shows if you actually show your BTs and parents graphs more often to show the progress, they actually buy into the treatment in ABA. And then we get reinforced, right? Because we're seeing that, yo, you're right. My goodness, I didn't see that small change that Danielle saw within a week. And that keeps you motivated and reinforced as a parent. So there's research related to showing your BTs graphs and parents your graphs that, hey, look at the progress they're making to keep you guys reinforced. So as parents ask for those graphs, maybe you'll be surprisingly happy as oh, you're right. Look at where we came from. Look at this. We are doing so much better. So ask for those graphs.
Okay, can you guys hear me right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I apologize.
That's okay. Oh, she got kicked off again.
Oh no.
That's it. We might as well stop trying now. So the last question that I think we have, and then we can kind of wrap up, is are there school services that a parent can get help with these deficits for evaluation ideas? So there were some evaluations that I mentioned on here. You can talk to a developmental pediatrician about getting an evaluation. And there are certain tools that will give you information specifically on what areas of executive functioning that your child might need to develop more or work on first. And you can get that information and look at how to put those things into the IEP. So even if you don't know the specific IEP goal that would go into, you can bring up the deficits to your IEP team and have them kind of help develop those goals for your child. So we just want to thank the Autism Center at Misericordia for having us back again, and we hope you learned something and appreciated the information. And thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.